Woo! Hello, everybody out there in Facebook land, TikTok world, everywhere. This clip is going to be going live or have a clip thereof in it. Welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions, The Art of Monty Anderson. And the title of today's broadcast is Still Moving. Sometimes you just get tired. I'm flipping that around so everybody can see. I wish they would just turn it off. Welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Again, I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions, The Art of Monty Anderson. And I ran into a dilemma last night. I did a bunch of recordings from the office all the way up until probably, I'd say, up until probably about 3 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock, somewhere in that range. At that witching hour, after I switched out the SD cards from the 64 to the 32. And now I can't even put them on my computer because I don't have enough room on my externals. My externals are filling up fast. But I do have a external that I can switch over and throw some more stuff on because I've got 3 terabytes happening. And so I can switch that stuff over and go that route. And there's a lot of stuff that I got to take off of some of this other stuff anyway. And which will free up a little bit more space. Yeah, even though 3 terabytes seems like a lot, it's not a whole lot. But there's stuff on here that I just don't need anymore on this other hard drive. And it's all stuff that is just old stuff. I didn't do anything with it then, and not doing anything with it now. It's just time to get rid of it all. Certain things, anyway. Not everything will go away, but a lot of things will go away. Just looking at different things on there. But I've changed the office up some more. And Allison is blessing the lives of the first 5 people to inbox her. So go and talk to Allison if you want to talk to Allison. If you were in here the last time, I had a ton of comic book boxes underneath this section over here, right back over here underneath the Patrick Nagel picture there. And what was my MOS? 11 Bravo, 45th Infantry, Delta Company, 1/180th, out of Shawnee, Oklahoma. Deployed to Afghanistan for 1 full year. But yes, I am a disabled veteran, and it was awesome. Well, we were troublemakers, let's put it that way. We did a lot of MRE specialties. I can't say the word here because it will get me restricted. MRE, and it starts with a B and ends with a B. Um, those were fun, especially out on the field. You put that heater inside of a plastic bottle, especially one of the smaller ones. It makes a loud sound when it goes off. But yeah, no, it was great. Um, so I got those boxes and moved them into my closet over here. The comic book boxes, and somebody just got uh, their wordage got uh, hello Casey, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was you that was talking about the military stuff. Just got your language filtered in there because you can only say certain things before they start, you know, filtering you on here. Just like they filter me on occasion whenever I start saying certain things that are here to help people, but they deem it. Well, whatever you said there, I think you were the one that probably got filtered. Uh, Dials Mavis, and and so I'm just guessing. I'm not saying it was you, but I'm just guessing that was the one that got filtered over something you said. TikTok is becoming a or has become a stickler for certain keywords, and things can't be said as freely as we would wish. Um, Now you can still cuss up a storm. You can still, you know, be having schmecks on a blurred out screen, and that's fine. That's okay. That does not go against their policy at all. But you say certain key words like schmuicide or schmilled or schmuicide prevention. Those things will get you restricted and a violation. But heaven forbid someone's out there having schmecks on the screen with a blurred out screen, and that does not go against their because they're not saying anything. They're just having schmecks on screen. Sorry, my allergies have kicked up a little bit because I kicked up a little bit of dust in here yesterday, and in the process of cleaning out the closet over here that had my uh, comic book convention supplies in it. Basically, three different boxes of comic book supplies that I take to the Comic Cons uh, and horror shows. I moved all that out of the closet, cleaned up the closet, cleaned up all of my canvases that are on the top side of the closet, and from there, I found one, two, three, four, five, six unfinished paintings. Plus, I found my book of all the different cards that I've worked on, four different sets. And I'll just show you the backs of these sets right here because we've already gone through some of them before. So these cards are still available out there, including the Vampirella Unholy, which I didn't see in that last set that I showed you guys before. But this one was my favorite set, Puppet Master, because with that set, they actually featured my cards in the advertisement. So that was pretty awesome. And I just basically sent them in whenever they started promoting them on their Kickstarter. And my cards were front and center right there whenever they were showing it. I also discovered this little guy right here. I put a little touch up on him because he had a little scratch right there and over here in this little corner. But this was part of my classic series. This is an 8x10. Of course, if you know, you know it's Elvis. And I did a whole different classic series of different people. Um, I did Sammy Davis Jr. I did Jerry Lewis. I did not Madonna, Marilyn Monroe. I did Ray Charles. I did Humphrey Bogart. I did a bunch of old classic people from back in the day and things of that nature. And that's just one of the things that I dug up that's still at the top of that closet in there. And everybody else's that I just mentioned is still up there too. Now, I've got some other ones that are in another room, the library, that were out in the car that just got sold because we were trying to sell them off too. All right. So this was one that my daughter was having commissioned up, and she just didn't like the compensation that was going on. And it's different characters from different books that she loved to read. You had Goosebumps, you had Five Nights at Freddy's, you had um, Jekyll and Hyde, I think is what this one is from, and there was somebody else in this, and I can't remember. We're all there's one, two, three, four, five different books happening in here. Page Master was part of it, all kinds of stuff, but she just didn't like it. And I started painting it up, and she was like, "No, no, no, that's not what I want." So we redid another one for her, and she liked it much better than this one. So this one never got finished. I might revisit it eventually if I can remember who that character is back there, but I can't. It's been too long ago. That's been a long time ago. And then, oh, these are all gonna fall. Yep. All right. So the Pattison Batman right here. I was working on it. I already did one on just regular paper, my cardstock paper, but this one was going to be a painting for it, and I just never finished it. I can't even tell you how long ago this was. Not too long after the movie came out, that's for sure. So that one's been sitting around for quite a while. Because when did that movie come out? Somebody out there knows. You know what? It doesn't keep me up at night. And then this Vampirella, which I will revisit because it's cool. It's a sexy pose. She needs some paint. Nope. Oh, yes. Wow. You're right on the money, Casey. It's working today. They're not restricting my likes today. But we got Vampy right here. I will revisit her and get her painted up because she needs it. She needs that paint. And we'll get to that one here in just a second. And then one that I've been working on or was working on, and this one's probably at least 7 years old, maybe. I was working on the Batmobile. This was going to be a front and back piece. This is the back side of the Batmobile right here. I know it's hard to see. Right there. And then this was the front that I already had started painting up right here. And just never finished because things happened, started going to a lot of comic book conventions, and this was going to be one of the pieces to get prints from front and back of the Batmobile, and they could be put side by side, with each other. So I need to get back and revisit that one because that is, a fun little piece. And then my controversial piece that got under the skin of a lot of people after watching Daredevil, and one of his lines in there said, "Oh, I'm the Marvel Jesus." I did that and put him, you know, on an M, not a cross, but an M, and made him up like Jesus, of course. And here it is, the controversial piece that had my mother-in-law up in art, my ex-mother-in-law, my first ex-mother-in-law, telling me how blasphemous it was and all that good stuff. And if you can't see the comic humor in things, why are you, you know, it's not blasphemous. It's not, as we were talking before, it's different names for different people. Now this little guy, I'm dusting him off because he hasn't been dusted off in a while. But this is a picture that survived fifth grade. I might have shown it here before. And I reworked it for a college course, which that portfolio is right here, and we're going to go through it too. But I drew this up in fifth grade. My signature was a lot different then, as well. As you can see it right here on that side, right there. I drew this little creature up in fifth grade, right there. So I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. And, you know, it's been fun for me. It's been exciting. 1996. Been mouse chewed on a little bit. You can see right there. Well, I appreciate that, Casey. This was Psywitch, a concept I was coming up with way back when, 1996. And that picture was based off of somebody. It was based off of I think of a character that was already existing in Image Comics, I believe. I think it was probably a Liefeld cover or something like that I pulled that from. But no, I've done a lot of things over the years, and to revisit some of the old stuff is just quite humorous, like Mia's Forge back in the day, 1990, right there. I think I drew this while I was sitting in one of my art classes. And Casey, you might remember MG Novelty out of Oklahoma City. I did this little thing for them. A lot of space scenes going on. I did a lot of stuff for all kinds of different things. This was for my ex-wife's Fun Time Station home daycare. That was my first ex-wife. My second ex-wife didn't like kids, so she wouldn't have run an in-home daycare. And then Polo Players, Polo Club. I don't know if that ever took off for him. And then, of course, I used to, like I said, when I was a Nazarene, I used to draw the shirts for Oklahoma State Quizzing, the Nazarene Quizzing right there. This was a little fun piece. It was a hang tag for school, for clothing. It's called High Fashion. And you had to break it down into its equal parts on its what its Pantone scale was, and this would be the hang tag that it used to be by Earthquake. But you had to take and get these to work out correctly by cutting them out with an X-Acto knife, and so you had each Pantone color was sent down through there, and you had to create it yourself. Oh, you don't remember MG Novelty out of Oklahoma City? And then when I worked for Award Design Metals, Lawman of the West, of the Wild West, right there, that was one of the advertisements I created. And then I created this little snowman for Noble, their Christmas ornament of the time, and that's what it looked like when it was all said and done. And then, of course, when I had lofty goals of doing my own thing, I created Noble Collection right there, which was old and new comic books, t-shirts, graphic novels, games, model kits, cards, all of your comic needs in one space with my old phone number. Of course, I didn't have it on there, but. And then some more advertisements plus the buckles that I created for the National Finals Rodeo. And this one was fun. I actually have this running around somewhere. But I created this little bolo tie for the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl champions. And then some more of my work right here at the National Rodeo. And then this little fun piece celebrating Smokey Bear's 50th anniversary. Right there. The little bear cub that they found that put on the hat. Yes, I created that belt buckle for that. Another Christmas ornament right there. Some more stuff that's just non-relevant anymore. Heston, Coca-Cola. More advertisements, more advertisements. This was actually in the magazine right there that I created. And then this was a t-shirt that I created for the 2000 champions as they went undefeated. Right there. And this is just old memories find all this stuff as you go around and you start opening stuff up, and it's just like, holy shit, I remember this stuff. It's just like these over here. You know what? Just screw it. Just take them out of here. This was all done with pointillism, all little tiny dots, based off a parfum bottle out there. Yes, 100%. 2000, everyone was flying our flags, even people that didn't like OU. But this was a cool little piece, all done with pointillism in there. And then this little guy right here, as you see, I got a grade on it, a 4.0 right there. This one was just awesome. I love this piece. We had to do real with old or real with drawing, and everybody thought I was crazy with this one because we had a time frame to do this in, and then I don't remember the exact time frame that. And again, I got a 4.0 on it right there. This was my college class, my technical college. Yeah, pretty much. A 4.0. But this one was pretty fun. We had to take a picture and we had to recreate half the picture. We had to do it in a square, and I think this is what, a 4x4 square? Where's my freaking? Oh, I'm sitting on top of it. That's why I can't find it. Or it's a 6x6. I can't remember which one it is. It was a 4x4 square. Okay. Um, I was right the first time. Just go with your gut instinct, right? And so I took half a picture, recreated it from the main picture. And everybody was choosing these simple, easy, quick things that they could emulate. Like some people picked um, like a phone that didn't have much contrast to it. People were picking, like a can, like a Coca-Cola can, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, screw that. Let's challenge ourselves, shall we? There's my halves. Ice, reflective surfaces, and a mosaic tile right there. And you can tell which half is mine because mine doesn't glisten like the actual picture right there. But, you know, you can see which half is mine. The lower half on this picture is mine right here. The lower half of this picture of all the ice and the gear and all that stuff is mine right here. And then this lower half, crazy, I know, this lower half right here is all my work on this piece. This was just a fun little piece. It was pretty awesome. And I even did the wording over here on this half to finish it out, you know. And so that was fun because I didn't want to do simple. I didn't want to just do, you know, well, here you go. Here's a can. Here's a worm. Those type things. I wanted to be bold. I wanted to be, hey, let's challenge ourselves. You know. As far as I know, he still has this buckle today. I guess I can't pull it out, but it's the Monday Night Football buckle by Hank Williams Jr. Right there. Yes, I created that buckle that he wore on Monday Night Football whenever he did his promotions and sang the song. And yes, that's a PBR barrel racer right there. And then, of course, I created this magazine as well with all the inserts and everything else. I created this whole ad plus this right here, the enrollment form. Anybody remember Bill Elliott or Ricky Rudd? Two NASCAR people. I did buckles for them, number 3 and number 9. And then the picture behind there that shows them getting the actual awards of the buckles. Right there. That's the buckles we designed, or I designed for them. And they received them. So I've done a lot of stuff in my day, including, you know, presenting Nolan. I didn't present, but they did. Nolan Ryan with his belt buckle. Anybody remember Crazy Horse out there? The whole Crazy Horse mountain that they're carving into the Indian on the horseback. We did a buckle for that. And then here's my rendition of this bottle. I know it's hard to see with all the reflections in it. But this is all just fun stuff to go back and revisit every now and again and be like, why aren't you doing stuff like this anymore? You know? Did the Rams Super Bowl buckles. What would Jesus do? A lot of school stuff later on. This is pretty awesome. This was in school too. We had to redesign a book cover. Yes, thank you, Casey. Remember to like, share, and follow, please. Um, I Robot by Isaac Asimov. We had to redesign a book cover for the book, and it had to be functional. So it had to go. It had to be on the book jacket. It had to be the book jacket, the dust cover, and it had to wrap around and all that good stuff. So there's mine with the original Isaac Asimov right there. Book cover. How he did his. And here is my originals. Well, this is actually a print of the originals. I have no idea where the originals got off to. Because it had the inside book cover as well as it was printed out. And so that was the original drawing. This is the print of the original drawing that I did. And it's mounted on board. We didn't have the whole, printed out on cardstock paper. Portfolio memory lanes. Good grief, come here. And so there you go. The original as opposed to the other. Dun dun dun. And just a couple more small. Oh, here's the one. There's the Nolan Ryan. And then here's the one that hung in the University of Oklahoma Natural History Museum. This hung right at the door as you walked in on that year, 1991, April 28th of 1991. This hung right inside the doorway as you were going into the exhibit. And several other people got theirs as well inside the museum as well. But it was kind of cool to see yours right at the beginning as you walked in, you know. And it didn't have the letter on it, of course. And this was a huge piece. I think this thing was 24 by 48 or something like that, big poster size. Like about, this wide by about yay tall. It was huge. And that was a fun piece. And then there's the Nolan Ryan, 7 no hitters, and then 5,714 strikeouts. 1966, 1993. All-time strikeout king. And he received this buckle right there. Now, I don't have a picture of him receiving that one, but he did. And of course, Jack Daniels rodeo as well. What we got back here? Oh, here it is. There's my creature revisited later on. Dun dun dun. Side by side. in a C, of course, for creature. And then Eskimo Boy Presents in my SSP comics at the time, sitting on a toilet reading our magazine. And then just some concepts that I worked up for different places at the time in Oklahoma City. There was a Red Rooster bar and grill. Just some more advertisements of buckles that I did. More. And then this one was a fun one. This is the original ad right here. Again, people were using simple advertisements to do their stuff. I picked one with challenging colors, all that good stuff. And you had to do a redesign. And you had to do two of them. You had to do an exact duplicate thereof a cigarette ad, because cigarettes weren't bad for you back then. But you had to do a recreation of the original. And then you had to do a product emphasis of the original. So there you go. My two takes on the same thing, just one was the original, and then the other one was product emphasis, where it shows them bolder, bigger, and more in your face. Right there. But the colors turned out really cool, and again, I was the only one that did bold colors at the time. So, again, gave me kudos. Another 4.0, beautiful, beautiful job. Excellent redesign with product emphasis. So there you go. 1991 is when that happened. So, am I a Mad Magazine fan? Give me just 1 second. I'm going to go right back over here. Looking at the wrong stack. Now, I used to be heavier into it as a kid. I'm not so much into it anymore. But, right there. Mad Magazines. From September of 75. That's my birthday. 4 years old. 4 years old in that one. 75. 76. Another 70. I don't know why he had two copies of this one, but he did. But as you can see, he put this little mark on these right there. This was the hoarder that I got all this stuff from. So July of 76, September of 76, and August of 77. Right there. And I've got a few more wrapped around somewhere else, but this was the Towering Inferno. The issue in this issue, we spritz the Towering Inferno. So yes, I was a Mad Magazine fan back in the day. Again, I'm not so much more. I mean, I know they still make them now, I guess this one is about Bring Back Arbor Day issue right there. Of course, him for president. Sorry, State USA, Political Directory, 1976. Bull system. This is on the backside. And then the number 190 of April 77. Mad blasts the shootist, exposes top secret meetings, devours testimonial roast, vomits one day at a time, and still ignores CB radios. Disco Inferno. And I'm Casey Kasem, and I'm counting them down. Oh, lordy. Good times, good times. No, Mad Magazine was always a fun magazine to have. It always was a very controversial magazine because they didn't give a shit back in the day, and they still don't. They make fun of everybody. It didn't matter who you were, and and it used to be acceptable. Who Mad Magazine? Hold on, I think it says inside. I'm looking. Edward E. Newman. E. Newman, something like that. Alfred E. Newman, maybe. Something E. Newman. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's gonna drive me a little bonkers too. But I think it's something Newman, something E. Newman. But I want to say it's like Alfred E. Newman or something like that. Sorry, I'm getting the keyboard that I'm trying to get to back here. Let's see what it brings up. Yeah, Alfred E. Newman. Um, the main character and iconic mascot of Mad Magazine is Alfred E. Newman. He is a fictional character known for his distinctive gap-toothed grinning face, protruding ears, red hair, and his perennial motto, "What? Me worry?" Um, while Alfred E. Newman is the face most associated with the magazine, Mad also featured a host of other recurring characters and features, including the silent comic strips Spy vs. Spy, which is awesome. I've got a book of that in there. The Mad Fold In and Mad Look At by Sergio Aragonis. He was based off of someone, but I don't know who he was actually based off of. But no, he is a total fictional character. He's not an actor. I mean, you could say that they based him off of Ron Howard, if you want to, because he kind of looks like a younger Rod Howard back in the day. Opie from um, I just went blank. The Andy Griffith Show. because I'm pretty sure that's when he got his. That's where they got him from. Yes, but although we didn't know he had red hair at the time because it was all black and white, it wasn't until they put some colorization to it. And well, just look at it this way: 71 years ago, as of 7 months ago, that's how old it is. 7 months ago, Mad Magazine turned 71 years old. Let that sink in for those of you that used to read Mad Magazine back in the day. I'm trying to see what the origins were. Wow, he was actually a pretty terrifying boy whenever this thing started. Um, if that's the one that they started with. The precise origin of the image used for Alfred E. Newman is unknown. Among the earliest known images is an advertisement for Atmore's Mince Meat, Genuine English Plum Pudding. Author Mariah, I'm not even going to try to butcher that last name, wrote, dating from 1895, this is the oldest verified image of the boy. The kid's features are fully developed and unmistakable. It looks like Ron Howard, and Ron Howard wasn't even alive yet, you know. And an older archetype was discovered in an advertisement for the comical stage play The New Boy, which debuted on Broadway in 1894. The image is nearly identical to that which appears in the Atomor's ads, and it's about as creepy and scary as it was before. And me worry? No, I buy auto parts. Postcard from the period 1930 to 1945 with a similar boy and slogan to Mads Newman. So, yeah, 1895 is whenever apparently 1894 for a specific ad, which was at Moore's Mince Meat, and then Genuine English Plum Pudding. That was the first. Uh, they can pull his image from different advertisements back to 1877. So, um, in November of 54, the image made its Mad Magazine debut on the front cover of the Ballantyne's The Mad Reader, a paperback collection of reprints from the first 2 years of Mad. So, 1954 is whenever it came out. It technically wasn't a comic strip. It was for the an advertisement for a company, and they just used the boy's logo as a face. And I'll get some of these down, and I'll send them to you. Um, but it's pretty cool read. Actually, you can find it on Wikipedia. Look up Alfred E. Newman on Wikipedia, and it'll give you all this stuff. Um, but yeah, it was 1954. In all 550 issues, he has only been not appeared in a handful of covers. They said. So yeah, we can get that to you. But yeah, it's it's pretty interesting stuff whenever you go back to Mad Magazine, because I grew up on Mad Magazine as a kid. I wasn't supposed to, but I did. It was a totally different era back then. because there was lots of controversy inside of these pages. And some of this stuff wasn't for kids. Let's just put it that way. A lot of the stuff that they talked about definitely wasn't for kids, but it was just fun stuff all the way around. There was a lot of overtones in here. A lot of controversial stuff in here. A lot of stuff that would not pass muster today, but they didn't give a shit. They kept doing their thing. And this definitely would be part of cancel culture today. If you were to pick this up, especially if you were to pick these up. I mean, I'm not even going to show you the back of this one because I can't. Because they called out specific groups. Yes, very good stuff. I liked it. Now the girlfriend didn't listen to it because she was already in bed asleep, and I was in here doing my thing, and I put that. I played that while I was, cleaning up my office per se, or rearranging my office yet again. Like I said, getting the comic books from that corner over there into the closet over here. It gives myself a lot more room over there. Now I do still have the small comic boxes on that side of the wall, over there where the big painting is that's sitting right over, not the Nightmare on Elm Street one, but the one that's sitting right here that you can see the white edge of. Underneath the, actually it's farther over this way. You can't even see it. I don't even know what I'm. I don't know what I'm pointing at because it's further over that way. I still have some stuff to clean up over there. But yes, it was very good stuff. I liked it. And again, you need to open up a Spotify album, buddy. Buddy, you need to do it. Quit procrastinating about it. And get out there and open it up, brother. No, I'm not going to tear my shirt. I like this shirt. No Hulkamaniacs. So, but yes, no, very good stuff, Casey. Very awesome. You are a very talented man, and it's you, and I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. You really need to get out there and put it on Spotify, or somewhere where people can go and listen to it. You are that talented. And speaking of talent, you met Elvis. How many people out there can say that you met Elvis with your violin in hand? You know, and he didn't want to be called Mr. Presley. Bless me, for we all have sinned. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. But no, it's a lot of things that we look at as we were kids, especially in our era from the '70s. You were born in the '60s, grew up in the '70s and '80s, and so on and so forth. I was born in the '70s, grew up in the '70s plus the '80s, and so on and so forth. But for to see how things change over the years for us, especially as old codgers, um, what was acceptable then is getting canceled today. You know, and it's just like, boy, you guys would not have survived our era. Period. You know, I play dominoes. You play dominoes? I used to play dominoes. We don't play dominoes as much as we used to. We used to play board games on a regular basis too. We've kind of stopped doing that. Those are some of the things we keep talking about that we want to get back into. Is the board games, the card games, the dominoes. Um, One thing I've been trying to find. My mother owns it, and I'm not going to take her copy yet. Um, but it's called Crazy Bee Rummy. It was created by a couple in Oklahoma City. It's a yellow and black box, of course, for a bee, and it's a great fun game. There's these X amount of steps you have to do on this pull-out card on this plastic sleeve, and and it's just a fun game. It's a long game because if you don't make this step, you're stuck on that step until you get it. You know, it's like a book of this and a run of this, or a book of the like at the beginning. It's real simple. A book of four or whatever it is. A run of you know again until you get to the very bottoms of it, and the middles to the bottom are the hardest because you have to do like a two books of this and a run of this, or you know, and so on and so forth. And it's just a great game, but you can't find it anywhere. We look at every time we go to Savers, every time we go to the Goodwill, anywhere we that sells board games and things like that. We look, we scour, trying to find this game. You can get it on eBay if you want to spend like $90 for it. That's how obscure and rare of a game it is. But but yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's a great game. Love it. And like I said, I'll end up with my parents' copy one of these days because we play it whenever we go down there and stay at their house periodically. Because my mother still likes to play games and card games and stuff like that. My stepdad not so much, but my mother does. And so but yes, Scrabble's a good one. I haven't played Scrabble in a long time either. I might even still have it running around here somewhere. Not in here, not in the office obviously. But I've got a section for board games and other card games and things like that. So in here, I've got my dice. I'm a dice fanatic. I've got the world's smallest dice running around the house somewhere, and it's about that big. I mean, it's super tiny. It's a little red die, and it rolls. And I think it's in my closet with all my other dice. I've got a small thing of dice in here for Dungeons and Dragons play, things like that. I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in what 3 years now. We started playing with a group, and then we just couldn't make it back because it's just one of those things. Work got in the way and all that stuff, and so it was just like, no, sorry, can't be there for it. And so we just kind of stopped, and just haven't revisited. My characters are still out there. They're on my phone right there. That's my phone right there. That's my other camera up here. So, what have you guys been up to? We're just talking about making the moves, keep moving, still moving, up and about, all that good stuff. Roy's not going to join us this morning, I'm pretty sure, because he was all braggadocious about how his team was going to whoop our team's ass last night. And his team didn't even get out the starting gate. The game was over at half. Yes, I'm talking about the LA Lakers versus the championship Oklahoma City Thunder. And they got spanked. Hey, you're up and about, man. That's a plus. A lot of people can't even say that, and it's unfortunate, but we appreciate you being here, even if you take a nap right after, because Roy does the same thing. But yeah, no, I'm surprised he's not in here this morning. You know, after his team took a whooping, a big whooping, uh, they didn't even break 100 points. You know, and Oklahoma City scored back to back 120 plus points in 2 games. You know, That's 244 points is what they've scored in the past two games, I think. That's a lot of points scored, you know. And that improves them to 12-1 on the season. And they are the number one seed right now in the divisions of everything. They have the best record in the NBA. So that's pretty awesome. And yeah, Roy was all braggadocious about how his team was going to kick our team up and down the court. And by halftime, the game was over. They'd already scored 70 points in the half, which was a lot, you know. And and Los Angeles only scored 38. So it was 70-38 at the half, which at that point, like the commentators said, the game's over. At that point in time, their points leader. I have not seen the NBA live. I've seen pro football live. I've seen college football live, but I haven't seen basketball live. Yes, I the girlfriend. Uh, we went to a Cincinnati Bengals game at the Dallas at the AT&T Stadium, and we won that game by a field goal. That was awesome. It was a birthday present, so that was awesome. Back in the day, I've been to an Oklahoma game. I've been to an Arkansas Razorbacks game because somebody had season tickets and they took me to it with the Arkansas game, or I wouldn't have went. And then, yeah, those are the only ones that I've been to, and it's been a while for college, and it's only been a few years for the Dallas game, but that was a great game. It was a great trip all the way around, and but yeah, I want to go. I want to go see the Oklahoma City Thunder play since they're right there, 3 hours away. But it's right there, and and especially since they're the national champions. You know, oh yeah, the '89ers and the Blazers, and then how they went to the Barons because they had to sell the team because the uh, Dodgers 3A now. Yes, and now the '89ers used to be part of the Texas Rangers as well, but the Oklahoma City Blazers, which was the minor hockey team, was a great outing to go to because you get to see a bunch of drunk people fight in the stands more than you did on the ice, and and from there they had to change the name because they were getting a divorce, and he didn't want his then ex-wife to reap any of the benefits, so he sold it off before the divorce was going on, and he knew it was getting ready to happen. But so he went ahead and sold the team to somebody else, and they changed the name to the Oklahoma City Barons, and then they just kind of folded. I think Tulsa Oilers still has their hockey team, but I don't know if it's the Oilers anymore or not. But yeah, Oklahoma City does not have their hockey minor hockey team anymore. And the '89ers changed their name to something else. I think they still play, but I can't remember if they do or not. It's been a long time since I've followed any of the minor stuff out of Oklahoma. Uh, since the Oklahoma City Thunder came on the scene via way of the Supersonics, the Seattle Supersonics, and why they didn't just bring the women's team down here too, I don't know, and just change them, all at the same time. Excuse me. And then maybe, just maybe, Roy would have followed the female team in Oklahoma City. I mean, he follows a woman's team anyway with the LA Lackers. But anyway, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There was no pro in Oklahoma City up until the the Hornets or the Hornets moved in. Yep, exactly. And that's and college sports is big in Oklahoma, all the way around from Tulsa to you know to Oklahoma State to Oklahoma Sooners. I mean, the list goes on and on. And lots of minor teams all over Oklahoma. When it comes down to it, from Tulsa, the Oklahoma State side, the Oklahoma City side, for the majors in baseball. Yeah. um, the reason that didn't feel like a pro team would exist there or sustain itself there was because of where it was located. Meaning Kansas City stuff, Texas stuff around it. It didn't feel like they always thought that it couldn't sustain a pro team. That's why they thought about putting a pro hockey team in there at one point in time, and that fell flat. Um, because of the Dallas Stars, Kansas City, whatever they're called up there, plus the other surrounding states around Oklahoma, except for Arkansas, of course. Arkansas doesn't have a pro team either. Now they could expand, you know. Yeah, and Denver, exactly. They could expand, into some other states. New Mexico could sustain a pro team. Oklahoma could sustain a pro football team. Arkansas could sustain a pro football team. Put out four more feelers. There's some other states that could support a pro football team, and but they just haven't done it. For whatever reason, they expanded it out with the new teams. The Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, the Houston Texans, or yeah, the Texans, the Tennessee Titans after the Oilers. But yeah, yeah, and that got hurt because of COVID, unfortunately. XFL, UFL, all that stuff. Now there is still the arena football going on, but it is completely different now. It's not the arena football that you know. It's more like the regular football that you see today. Um, so they got the Canadian Football League as well, and all that good stuff out there. So, and it's what you like. I mean, some people frown upon rugby, but where did football come from? It came from rugby. You know, guys with absolutely no pads hitting each other. You know, and have I seen the aerobatic baseball in neon colors? No. I've seen a baseball team called the Bananas. They're supposedly a comedic baseball team that are really good. Um, I don't know much about them, and I don't know where they play. Oh, that's them. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that they were. I know they had a yellow outfit. I didn't know it was neon. But yeah, no, I've seen them, and I don't know much about them. Uh, they have a league, so it's kind of like the Globetrotters, but just for baseball. Hold on, I'm gonna put this puzzle piece over. Um, but no, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm all for it. As long as you're having fun and it's what you love to do it. It's just like your music, man. If that's what you love to do, which I know it is, I mean, you've got a studio for Christ's sakes, and that's what you love to do it. I mean, like the baseball players that are having fun with it. They're loving it and they're having fun with it. More power to them. Like I said, it's the Globetrotters. They were having fun. They still have fun. It's a completely different ball game today than it used to be with curling and all those back in the day. And if you're having fun with life, have fun with life. Do what makes you happy. Don't let people dictate what it is that you're supposed to do. And that comes down to a job as well. It's like my if I lived by what my stepdad told me, I'd be working in a factory somewhere, pushing a button, you know, because that's what he did, and that was his advice. Get into factory work, get into a union, all that stuff. And it's just like that's not me. That's not who I am. I'm not and that's why they told me, from that's why he told me from day one that artwork would never sustain anything, you know. Exactly. Like Stoner Punks says, don't let anyone put you down for what you enjoy. Because if it's what you enjoy and what you love, then go for it full force. Go for it with the enthusiasm of a child in a Batman t-shirt, you know. And yes, I wear Batman t-shirts, so I'm still a child. I draw Batman too, so not professionally, but I've drawn Batman many a time. But no, do what you love. Don't let people tell you or dictate to you what you should be doing in life. That is a wife. That is a girlfriend. That is friends. You know. Now, unless they are encouraging you to follow your passion, which is mine is in the art field. You know. Which my girlfriend does do that, and I push her to her passion, even though unfortunately she still has to work a regular job. I'm a disabled veteran, and I get to do what I want. I homestead, and I do artwork on a daily basis. Do I do it as fast as I would like? No, of course I don't. Like I'm 3 pages in on this 8-page comic. It's 8 pages. How can I not have it already penciled in? Because I'm rearranging an office, tearing it apart, putting it all back together. I've got paintings that I want to work on. I've got paintings that I just found that I need to finish. All that good stuff. And don't forget to like, share, and follow, and go up here as well, right here, if that's where I am on your page or not. I don't know if that's where I am. But you can also follow my other live, or not lives, but I am live on Facebook right now. And I'm trying to see if there's anybody over there that I need to speak with. And there is not at this moment. There's been some people pop on and watch, but they don't talk much sometimes. But you can hit my other social out there, which is Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you are here with me already. And yes, Casey, we are at 28.3 in the popular live section of lives right now for our category, which is fandom, because that's what we are. We are a fandom when it comes to having comic book artwork, comic books in general, horror movie talkabouts, and sci-fi movies that we talk about. And we don't talk about anything from the Hallmark Channel other than why did they create it. But anyway, for Lonely Housewives, those type of things. Um, or Lonely House Husbands, whichever. And I know people love the Hallmark Channel because my ex and her entire family love the Hallmark Channel, and I just can't stand it. So Solomon Grundy. Solomon Grundy is so underrated. He is. He's an underrated character, just like Tombstone is an underrated character on the Marvel side. But of course, the way they depict him too, and now Tombstone is a little bit more depicted as a smart guy, whereas Solomon Grundy is more or less a Frankenstein character that didn't get the brains. And it's unfortunate because he is a powerful character all the way around on the DC side of the universe. And yeah, it's one of those underrated characters that they could do so much more with, and they've tried over the years, just like they've tried with several other characters that they really wanted to keep in the forefront of things, if you will, but they just kind of fell short. Um, it's kind of like Alpha Flight when they made their debut back in the day. You know, speaking of which, Alpha Flight #1 right here. It's going in my X Men box, my mixed X Men box. Let's put it that way. Um, Underrated group of characters, and it's like, yes, they're a Canadian group, you know, but what was this? What year was this? 1983, I believe, is what that says. Yes, 1983 is when they made their debut. So, Plastic Man is a cool one. Again, another underrated hero because they didn't do much with him. They threw him in a group, you know, and let him do his thing over there. He had his own comic book for a hot minute, and then they just kind of let him melt, if you will. And there's so many characters that they've let fall through the wayside that they could have done so much more with, but they just kind of just went, "Hey, let's make this character, and then let's not do anything with them." And it's unfortunate because there's so many cool characters out there, just like Art the Clown. They could do so much more with him. This is my artwork, by the way. And it's like there's so many characters out there that they could do so much more with that they haven't. Now, this ultimate line that they've created, you know, oh yeah, 100%, and they've actually talked about him being playing that role uh, many times over, and why they haven't already done it, I don't know. Because he's already got the look for it, the goatee and all that stuff that he has for Puck, and it would be just a simple throw in here, Peter. It's your job. You do it. You take it over, and awesome, you know. But there's just so many characters. If you look at not the Wikipedias, but the encyclopedias of the Marvel universe and of the DC universe, they both have their own books. In fact, Marvel used to have a comic book devoted to their characters, um, with all of their powers and their history and all that stuff in it. The who's who, if you will, and it went from A to Z. So you had this whole run of comic books devoted to nothing but telling you the history of each character that Marvel has created over the years. And then you've got the whole encyclopedia, which I have in my library, not in this room, which it will be in this room soon. Um, that gives you every character up to a certain year that Marvel has created. And as you flip through those pages and you go, I remember that character. I remember that character. That character didn't last long. That character was a cool character, but they didn't do anything with. They didn't develop him into anything. He was in maybe 2 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and then he was gone. Where did he go? And it's just like, why can't they just develop some of their characters better? And that's on both sides of the fence. That's on DC side and Marvel side. And it's just like, I want to see more of certain characters. Just like you said, uh, Plastic Man on the DC side, Solomon Grundy. You know, why aren't they developing those characters even better? Even more today than they did back then. Because in today's society, you could get away with revamping those characters, just like they are with the Ultimate Universe. They've got the Ultimate Joker now, which is some lizard creature, and Batman has this huge ass bat symbol on his chest, and the funny thing about that is the writer was like, every time people make fun of that bat symbol, it gets bigger, you know, just to spite them in the Ultimate Universe, which is hilarious to me. But there's so many things that they're developing in today's society for comic books that, it's just like, why did we have to destroy the Uncanny X-Men, you know, whenever they finished the line in 2001? And then they revamped it, volume 2, volume 3, I think they're up to volume 6 or 7 right now of the Uncanny X-Men. And it ran for 500 and, what was it, 543 or 584 issues, something like that, from 1963 to 2001. And why couldn't we just keep it going? You know, just like Batman is still going, Superman is still going, Thor is still going, uh, Spider Man is still going, the Amazing Spider Man is still going. You know, so on and so forth. And you know you're up into the 500-600 issue realm. Why couldn't we keep the X Men from 1963 still running as Volume One? You know, but no, we had to kill it in 2001, and then we had to make a volume two, make a volume three, and change the characters up so much that we don't even recognize them today as who they used to be. Annette, welcome to the show, and congratulations, I will say. Um, and I'm sorry that you had to prolong your what was happening, you know, on that side. What does the X Men mean in X Men? Extraordinary. I would have to look that up to be 100% honest, because I started reading the Uncanny X Men with, and I'm just gonna pull it out here. Plus, I've got the oversized Mastercards right here, and then I've got the 9.6 Tony Daniels cover right there. Dun, dun, dun. You have a great day as well. And this was my very first Uncanny X Men to ever read. Number 183. Great, great book. Great, great read. Right here. A 9.2. Right there. This was my holy grail of comic books, if you will. As I got it. As I read it, because a friend of mine had that, and I read it. And give me just 1 second. Okay, there you go. The X in X Men stood for extra power. As the mutants possessed extraordinary, see, extraordinary abilities beyond normal humans. Professor X, their master, also contributed to the name, as his first name is Charles X Xavier with an X. And over time, the X has come to represent many other concepts related to mutants, such as the mysterious X gene, the Weapon X program, and the letters used as a symbol uh, for mutant resistance and identity. But originally, it stood for extra power. There you go. Now we both know, because I knew it had to do with Xavier's name, because that's where the school came from. Uh, Xavier School for the Gifted, you know, all that stuff. And and then of course the X gene, which created most mutants in the day. And then of course the Weapon X program, which they expounded much more into later on in its own series of comic books. So there you go. Now we both know. Oh, quit it, jackass. Dun, dun, dun. There, quit it. I hate computers sometimes. All right. So there you go. And but yeah, this was the very first comic book that I read from a friend of mine that had a subscription to comic books, and mainly the X Men. And it was a fun read. This is what got me into figuring out what words meant together. And yeah, it's an old book from 1984. You know, I was what 13 years old then when this came out, and I had started going to my grandparents' house for you know for the summers in '84. That's when they moved to Hugo, Oklahoma, and I spent my summers with them. So I was 3 months at a time was with my grandparents, uh, reading comic books, fishing, being outside, outdoors all the time. You know, yes, it's very hard to get a 10 grade on a comic book just because of rolled corners, not sharp corners, and things like that. Um, any spine ticks can cause, a lower grade. Um, and it's very hard to get a 10 man even straight out off the press from the company, that's printing these things up. I have seen very few 10 mint out there when it comes to comic books. Like I said, that one's a 9.2, this one's a 9.6, and this one's a much newer comic book than that one. And it only got a point 0.4 grade higher than the 1984 book, you know, because this one is from 2020 right here. And let's see here. This is the first appearance of Punchline in cameo, face not revealed. So that's why this one is a special comic book, because it is the first one for her. And I think this is the third printing. Yes, this is the third printing of this. So the first printing goes a lot higher than even this one does. But it's just like the Gleason covers of the Amazing Spider-Man that he did as the web of the head. It comes in three different colors: red, white, and blue. And I've got all three of those covers. And I think one of them goes for like $300 or $400 right now, easy. And I've got money upon money upon money sitting in comic book boxes. You know, and it's just like, why am I not selling them faster? So it is what it is. I will be selling off comic books, as I go along, and I've got a lot to sell. I might even have some Plastic Man in there. I don't know. I've got three, possibly four boxes worth of DC Comics, and the rest is all original comics. Yes, I have very few second or third print comics. Everything is a first print, for the most part, including my Hulk 181, 182. I need to find 180 is what I need to find. The first cameo appearance of Wolverine. 181 is the one that's worth the most. Like I was telling Roy, whenever I was showing him the books that I had, that I have potentially have a $10,000 comic book sitting in my hands, you know, with Hulk 181, depending on what grade it would come back at, you know. So there is that, and there's just a lot of stuff that I've got that it's time to pare down. What up, Steven? How's it going, man? And you know, comic books are my thing, but there's certain comic books that I don't read. It's just like I've still got a bag and board up the rest of the Captain America comics in there. I'm not a big Captain America fan. Never have been. We've been discussing all kinds of things, from my artwork to comic books. Now we're on the comic book kick, talking about the different characters that people like and my limited knowledge on some of them. Uh, but like one guy on here was talking about how he thought Solomon Grundy was an underrated character, and or not Miracle Man, Plastic Man was an underrated character. So he was on the DC side of things, and me, this is the first comic book I ever read, right here. Not the exact one, but one that I found later. What's my favorite villain motif? I'm not I'm not big on the superpowers when it comes to villains. I like them to be more natural, if you will. Like the Joker being maniacal, the Batman Who Laughs being super maniacal, since he is a mixture of both Batman and the Joker. Uh, those type characters are a lot better for me. I like the crazy psychopath more than the narcissist because I've lived with narcissists. My ex-wife was a serious narcissist. My second one, not my first one. But no, I like the psychopath more than I do the like I was talking about Joker, the Batman Who Laughs, and um, the list goes on and on because you do have some serious psychopath characters out there when it comes to you know on the DC side and on the Marvel side. But you can pinpoint more of those characters on the DC side. Um, just like they say with the Joker, it's a illness, and I can't use the first part, a mental illness, because if I use that, then we're going to get restrictions and all that stuff. Um, and you can find it on both sides of the fence. But generally, whenever they give you a psychopath character on the Marvel side, there's a superpower involved with it as well. And unfortunately, they tend to be a god of some sort, you but you run into very few normals out there that are just straight up psychopaths that have no superpowers whatsoever on the Marvel side, and that's unfortunate, and because I love Marvel more than I do DC. Um, but you find some of the great villains over there that are just normal people that are just maniacal maniacs, psychopaths all the way around, and I wish Marvel would come up with some more characters that were just normals, that were just straight up psychopaths. Now they do, in the sense that the Punisher has those characters, um, and things like that. The Archies, those are fun. Um, I know they're making more of a adult oriented, and I'm not meaning that in a um, weird schmexual way, but a more dark Archie style when it comes down to it. But the original Archies with Jughead and Archie Veronica and all those um, were fun reads. They were just fun, uh, more upbeat, more energetic, and more full of life. Now they did have their serious moments in there as well. So yeah, he's a normal human, and they've tried to push him to the envelope of no, he's really a superhuman when it comes down to it. I do have some Archies in my collection. I've got some like Casper the Ghost. I've got some hot stuff. I've got, of course, the Archie stuff as well. Now I don't have it in the pulp magazine size, which is like not a Reader's Digest, but a what the hell was it? It was the TV guide style. That little magazine that you could flip through, and it gave you some articles and all that stuff. That's the size of the Archie books now. So, um, but yeah, no, Lex Luthor, and I can't really say, you know, he was just crazy with power. He wasn't technically a psychopath as we were talking about, and I know you didn't put psychopath in there, but yeah, he's a great normal villain that's been misconstrued in movies all the way around. He was very campy and not Lex Luthor type in the first Superman movies with Christopher Reeves. Um, almost pushed him to the realm of you're an idiot, then you are a brilliant person, a brilliant business mind. Now they've tried to push that envelope later on in different series and different movies and things like that to make him more of a egghead, if you will, which is really where he is. He is an egghead style, great business mind, uh, very powerful person in just the normal world. But yeah, Archie comics, great stuff. You can't go wrong with those, especially if that's where you want the feel good side of things. You know, Raggedy Ann and Andy, the first Annabelle doll in Raggedy Ann, which is still in the Warren's Haunted Museum today. Um, yes, it got lost a couple times. Yes, it burned down uh, New Orleans, um, so on and so forth. So, you know, those type things. Uh, but yeah, so many characters out there in comic book realm and comic book lore that it's just like, what area do you pick up? And it's like, do you like more of the independent stuff? Do you like the mainstream Marvel DC? Do you like some of the older stuff like Charleston, Warp? Sorry, Warp. I get the tickle. Warp Graphics. Um, some of the more obscure Entity comics or Eternity comics, or there's tons of independents out there that created a ton of great characters. And Dark Horse Comics, I mean, there's just so many out there, and then you're getting so many more today with all these independent companies coming out with their own stuff, and then me, I'm going out and looking at what's in public domain now, and that's where a lot of people are coming up with all these crazy movies, these horror movies with Mickey Mouse or Steamboat Willie, not Mickey Mouse, but Steamboat Willie Mickey in it, Popeye, Piglet, Winnie the Pooh, all these Peter Pan is out there now in public domain. And, if people can use anything that's in public domain to advance their careers in certain things. So you take these certain characters that are in public domain now and you create your characters off of them. And it's just like people are going crazy with public domain right now. I mean, it's cool in the movie side, but it's also cool in the artwork side of it all too, because you've got so many characters that are in the public domain now, and every year new characters drop. You know, because there's a lot of people that are like, man, I wish I could have, man, I wish I could have, man, I wish I could, And now if you look at the public domain sector of it all, you got all these characters that you can use right now, and it's just like sweet score, all that good stuff, and people are going crazy with it all right now, and more power to them, because it's like it's a great outlet when you can create something that's been created, but now you're putting your spin on it, because now it's in the public domain sector of things. And but yeah, there's a lot of feel good books out there when it comes to comic books. Um, just like when Marvel uh, did their whole love sector, of books, um, and how all that has been lost in translation today, because people want action, action, action. People want schmeck, schmeck, smecks. Because why schmeck sells. That's why you get so many creators out here that if that's what they're selling and they're selling it good, then they're getting all the views. Me, I'm a comic creator. I'm I'm just a guy that's over here, wearing his artwork on his shirt and talking about artwork, talking about comics, talking about horror movies, talking about sci-fi movies, talking about sports. periodically. And again, that's why Roy isn't here. He didn't want to talk about his L.A. Lackers getting the beat down that he said that his team was going to give to Oklahoma City Thunder, which didn't happen. So, and I woke up for the end of that game. Honestly, it was 10:24 when I woke up last night. I didn't end up going to bed until after midnight, and I said, "Whoa, what's going on? What happened to your team?" and all that stuff. And he was like, "Well, what are you doing awake?" I said, "Well, something told me to wake up to watch the end of this ass whooping that you said we were getting, and I think it went the wrong way for you. You guys your top scorer only scored 19 points. What the hell?" It was hilarious, hilarious. I tell you, hilarious. But uh, but no, it's been a great live today. And in case I'll send you this over here about the Alfred E. Newman, so you can read up on it if you want to. Not saying you have to, but uh, Harvey Kurtzman was the original editor of the magazine. But yeah, yes, sir. We are tracking today. We are tracking like a kraken. So I appreciate all of the likes out there. That helps our show be in the popular ranks. And like I said, by the end of when it's all said and done and watched many times over, we end up with about anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 people that end up watching the show uh, by the end of its lifespan uh, when it all comes down to it. So that's a great feeling out there. And I appreciate each and everybody stopping in, checking out the channel, and leaving their comments or no, I don't smoke. But yes, it's smoking. Somebody stop me. All those good things. But yeah. As we all should plead the fifth from time to time. We don't want to perjure ourselves out there. 100%. Let's see. Voice acting gig is getting ready to kick off even more. Going to be voicing this role for this group of fans of Power Rangers, and so I'll be doing that here very shortly. They finally picked their final person for a voiceover. Uh, was a female role that they had left, and they got her cast, and now they should be able to start finishing up uh, the script. Therefore, all the characters. I know he's got a lot of it written already for this season. I think it's going to be more than one season on it. But it's Power Rangers Velocity is what it's called. And so we'll see how it goes. And right now, it wouldn't be a good time for me to do it because I got a scratch in my throat right there from drainage. From drainage, I've been draining. And but no, it's pretty cool. Remember Nancy from Power Rangers or from something else, or Nancy Reagan. Want to go with a blast from the past? Um, 50s comics, Nancy. Oh yeah. I didn't read a whole lot of hers, but yeah, I remember her in the comics. She had the black hair, right? Little red dress. Wasn't little, but for her, she was a kid. If I'm remembering correctly. And then, of course, you had your classic Mickey Mouse comic books. You had anything from, you know, Looney Tunes was out there. You had okay, don't remember the dress. I think it was red, or maybe I'm thinking of Little Lulu. I don't remember. And then of course you have all of your comic strips from the the funnies that also turned into comic books later on as well. Um, I've got Mr. Davis's autograph over here, who did Garfield. Yeah, Little Abner. Yep, yep. Good old Little Abner. What's a smoo? Lordy. There's a lot of great comic books from back in the day um, that they just don't deal with anymore. Bloom County, unfortunately, very political cartoon out there. Um, again, would be canceled by a lot of people today. Uh, Liberty Meadows, more of an adult-oriented comic book by Frank Cho. Um, oh yeah, 100%. Good old, but Little Abner is one of those that also got back into the public eye because of a MASH episode. You know, the TV series MASH from back in the day, and because Colonel Potter loved Little Abner, you know, and read the comic strip, to the crew, to the group, and so that got it back into the popular eye. And then of course you had um, Dick Tracy. You had what was it, Ozarks? Yeah, yep, 100% on that. But yeah, so many great comic books out there that people just don't even know about today because I'm not into that. I'm into the Superman comics. I'm into the Batman comics. I'm into anything that's new and popular um, that's coming out in today's society. I don't care about the old stuff. What's the theme park from Little Abner? I don't even remember. Yeah, I don't remember. But we can find out. Oh, Dog Patch. That's what it was. Created by Al Cap. Yes, Dog Patch USA. The park was closed in 1993. The park was closed in 1993. The Little Abner theme was dropped in 1991 to avoid having to pay the Cap estate for the use of Dog Patch USA. It went from 1968 to 1993 as an amusement park based on characters and locations in Al Cap's popular Little Abner comic strip. It used to have 9,000 visitors a day. Um, Let me see. I can tell you. Oops. Um, Located in Northwest Highway 7 between the cities of Harrison and Jasper. It's still there. It's just defunct now. Um, an area known today as Marble Falls. No, no, that's fine. I like it. I have no problems with it, and I'm glad I've got my other computer set up close where I can do that type of thing. No, it's all good because I knew it was here in Arkansas, but it's been forever since I've even thought about it. Because it would still be a cool one to go do a ghost hunt at because it's been defunct since, like I said, '93 is when the park closed. Old entrance sign in 2008. No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. Posted. Keep out. So it is still private property to this day. They did do a documentary about Dogpatch USA by Jeff Carter. Productions was released in May of 2018. And apparently, it's changed hands several times. 87 Telcor bought it up. On December 20th, 1994, the park was put up for auction on the courthouse steps in Jasper. The auction was handled by Jim Sprout, a Harrison lawyer whose wife, Jan, had been Daisy May at Dogpatch from 68 to 70. 88, Deborah Nelson began buying parcels of the Dogpatch property. Eventually, the area she owned included the ski lodge, convention center, roller rink, so on and so forth. She also opened a non-denominational church in one of the abandoned resort buildings in December of '99. So there you go. I grew up in. Oh, okay. In syndicated TV commercials. So 2014, it was rebought. 2020, so in 2021, another person bought it, Bob Zeimer, and they were talking about turning it into a Bass Pro Shops. So there you go. It could end up being a Bass Pro Shops. I don't know what it is right there and right now. So early '70s, all the time on Oklahoma City TV. Yeah, I'm sure. I was too young for that because I wasn't even born yet. I was born in '71, and I don't remember seeing the commercials for it in '71 on because, of course, I wasn't watching TV too much in those early days. It wasn't until later on in life, whenever I was sat down in front of the TV and watched it on a regular basis. So okay, so September 28th of 2020, Bob Zeimer, Senior Director of Conservation for Bass Pro Shops, presented a plan to the Buffalo River Conservation Committee held at the Jasper School cafeteria. The proposed plan will be to create a smaller version of the Dogwood Canyon Nature Park in Lamp, Missouri, which features a working mill, a restaurant, a trout fishing, fly fishing lessons, and wildlife tours, horseback riding, and education programs on conservation. So I don't know if they've gone that far with it or not, but as far as I know, it's still just sitting there with all the original stuff on it that still had it out there as it is now. So I don't know if they've done anything to it, torn anything down, any of that good stuff. I mean, it's worth a trip to go out there and check it out. Because, like I said, in 2008, they did have the old signage there for it. So that could be a cool little trip just to go check it out, even if it's just to the gate entrance. Because it is in, like I said, Marble Falls. So, see how far that is. I've got the coordinates right there 36 degrees, 0624 north, all that good stuff. A lot of people don't even know how to read those coordinates. So, there you go. All right, folks, we are going to kill it for today. I got some animals that are getting restless as it is 6 o'clock and the sun will be coming up here shortly. I do homestead, I do illustrations and things like that. But I do appreciate each and everybody being here and checking out the 48.9 thousand likes here on the broadcast channel. And I do appreciate each and everybody here that does show up and comment and have interaction with us here. But I love you guys, and you need to tell that to more people out there that you love them because tomorrow is never promised to anybody, unfortunately. But you all have a great day, and we will catch you on the flip side. Have a good day, everybody.